You talk about journey, you talk about getting somewhere, and that's something I'm journeying through now, actually, is what is that end goal? Is it a destination in terms of a position, like a CEO of a company, or is it more a destination of who I want to be as person?
What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode. It's great to see your faces virtually. I have massive privilege today of having one of my best friends and one of my oldest friends, or my oldest friend definitely, Rudolph du Toit. Rudolph, do you want to maybe introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. George, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to be here and to be part of this amazing channel. A channel that's so valuable to me, but I believe to so many people out there. So it's great to be here. As George mentioned, we've known each other for 23, 24 years now. So it's a privilege. It's really a privilege, and I'm so thankful to be able to be here. Who am I? First and foremost, I would say I'm a son of God. I love Jesus. I love to give him glory. And on a more practical note, I work for a recruitment company. So I do recruitment for our company. I absolutely love people. My background's marketing, and many people ask me, Rudolph, you studied marketing, why recruitment? But my passion's really people, and my love is people, and to really connect the problem and the solution. And so many companies have problems, and if I can find someone with a solution that can help them out, I know everyone's winning at the end of the day. So that's what I do for a living, and I market people and I market companies now, which I really, really enjoy. Live in Stellenbosch, literally around the corner from George, and I'm super privileged to still be here in a beautiful town like Stellenbosch, and to be involved with people at church, at schools. I love the youth. I love the next generation. I know we're still very young, but we talk about the next generation. But
Gen Zers.
Gen Zers, yeah. So very, very, very excited to be where I am in life, and to be in South Africa, a country that I love so much, that I believe has got so much potential. So in short, that's me, and excited to be here.
Nice. Yeah, I like what you say, and I think it's exactly why I chose to have you on the channel for this episode. Is you love solving problems. Like, that's something that I've always known about you. Is like, you want to be a problem solver. Like, we were just talking about some people just see problems around us, but the problem is oftentimes the solution.
Yeah.
And something specific that I want to talk to you about today is priorities. You wrote a lacquer article on LinkedIn about priorities, talking about 8 lenses, and we'll get into that in a moment. But I find priority or prioritizing is sometimes a bit of a issue for me. So I've been to all the courses, I've been to many places that talk about prioritizing and teach us how to prioritize, and the theory behind it is great. But yet I find myself still struggling to juggle all the balls, and to fit in, the stuff that's urgent kind of takes priority, not the stuff that's important.
Yeah.
And differentiating between that. And I thought maybe if you could just just a couple of tips or things that from those 8 lenses. I know you start with faith, and it's so beautiful, like that's priority number 1, and I would agree with that. And then going on to finances and friends and family, maybe just like touching on a couple of those, and then maybe like share with us how would you take those 8 lenses, or how would you take that approach to prioritizing and apply it in your life? Like, what's some of the practical things that you do in your life to help you prioritize, so that, because we obviously we want to live efficiently and effectively. Like, there's so much to do. I love what you said in the intro to the article, that if you count up all the things that we need to do just to kind of maintain life, it adds up to 34 hours of activities, but we only have 24 hours. So how do we go about turning that 34 back to 24 and doing the right things at the right time?
Yeah, Yeah. I think it's a great question, and it's something that I still sit with. And the article was more my thoughts and my learnings that I've put on paper than anything else, and solutions that I've found to certain problems that I've encountered. So it's the journey I'm on, and I'm excited to learn from everyone around us. You know, you've got solutions that I don't have. That's why I just love people, because every person we encounter knows something that we don't know, and we can learn something from that person. So I love that. But back to your question, George, to your questions, because I think there are a few questions in that one question. You mentioned things that are urgent but not critical, or urgent but not important. And I think most of our planning in life is based on these critical non-essentials. We've got these critical things to do, but they're not essential. And I think the main reason for that is when we think of planning and scheduling, we think of our 9 to 5, our work.
Yeah.
We schedule between 9 and 5 on our calendar, but before 9 and after 5, it's free for all. And in the past year or two, I started realizing that life to me is not only within 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Most of the value that I find in life is actually outside of 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I mentioned faith, family, friends. Those are the top 3 on my list in the article. And in my 9 to 5, I don't spend time with my friends and family necessarily. So what created this chain of thought was zooming out and seeing my priorities as something more than just my 9 to 5. Seeing my life in a more holistic way. And then from that, starting to plan and schedule my life. So scheduling my life not only for work, but for my entire being from 8 to 8.
I think it's so cool what you say, like not thinking about life as 9 to 5, like my job, because that in a sense would be the first step to how do I think about prioritizing, how do I think about putting in order what is most important and not just urgent, because then I don't limit myself to 9 to 5 and scheduling and planning for that, because then because in that 9 to 5 family doesn't really come or friends don't really come into that picture, but you broaden it from, let's say, 6 in the morning to 10 at night or whatever, like besides your sleep, then all of a sudden there's so many more things that can come in that are really important. You know, like work is obviously important in the sense that we need to earn to have a living and to pay our rent and to pay our bills and to have food on the table and stuff. But that doesn't necessarily always give us meaning. So therefore it's not the most important thing, I would say. So then if we then broaden it, and that's what I love why I love what you say, is because if we broaden that time horizon, then we include stuff that actually gives our life meaning.
Exactly.
And we can prioritize to what fills us, not just what we can, you know, like making my money and getting from the Monday to the weekend or whatever, you know, that ongoing cycle ends up happening because I'm just doing what's urgent.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the question I asked myself, and I was like, Rudolph, what does a life of meaning look like to you? Because I realized that I was bogged down in this 9 to 5, and you're working, and then after work you're tired, and you just don't get to what you really want to do. So I realized that planning is important, and I started planning my work life. But then a few months in, the planning was good and my work was good, but I didn't get to what I really wanted to get to. So I had to ask myself that question: what do you want to get to, Rudolph? And what is meaning for you? How do you define meaning in life, and what do you value in life? So with that in mind, I started just writing down what's important to me. And I wish I could give you some other scientific explanation, but I was like, my faith is important, my friends are important, my family is very important. I was like, oh, that's 3 F's. let's try and list something with F's just because it's cool.
Easy to remember.
Easy to remember. Then I was like, oh, exercise, but exercise is not an F, it's an E. I was like, oh, fitness is cool.
Yeah.
And so it carried on to the 8 F's. And I've got the 8 F's up on a whiteboard in my room just to remind myself every day when I wake up, cool, this is my faith goal, and under every F I've got a practical goal. If you guys want more on setting goals and being practical on your day-to-day, please read David Allen's Getting Things Done. Really, really practical. He narrows it down. So there's there's a lot of value in that. But for me, it was just seeing this bigger picture, because as you mentioned, there's more to just work. So with that in mind, I jotted down 8 things that are super important to me. High level, as mentioned, faith, family, friends, finances, etc. And then under each one, I narrowed it down to what can I do on a daily or weekly basis to make sure that I get to that F, or that thing that gives value to me. So for example, faith, which is really the beginning and the end of who I am. I need to spend time with the Lord once a day, at least for an hour. It's what fills me up. It's what gives me meaning. It gives me direction, gives me purpose. It gives me life. There's no life for me outside relationship with Christ. So that's got to be in place for me.
It's non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable. And then with friends, for example, so I've got that goal, 1 hour with the Lord per day. With friends, for example, I know, and I mentioned in the article, that my time with friends have given me more learnings and it's given me more value than any education I've received. So I need to prioritize that too. And then through trial and error, I realized a sustainable way, and I think that's something that's really important, is finding something that's sustainable. A sustainable way for me to make sure that I get the value I want from friends is seeing a friend of mine like yourself at least once a week for a proper catch up. Maybe a run in the mountain, maybe a round of golf, maybe dinner, whatever you enjoy doing with your friend. Make sure you get to each other and be transparent in that time. Share with your friend what's on your heart. And so those are 2 examples. And then, for example, fitness. It's super important for me. I know if my fitness is in place and my food is in place, those 2 F's are in place, it flows over into my effectivity. How effective I am, how productive I am. So fitness, I want to run 40 kilometers a week. Food, I want to drink 3 liters of water a day. It's very practical, but it starts with a high level.
Nice. And do you think, because I think this is something that we all get stuck with sometimes, is when, you know, we have these crisis moments in our life where we realize, like, it's just, everything's just falling apart. Everything's just going way haywire. So I need to get my priorities straight because I've been slacking on them. And then what we tend to do, or what I think we tend to do, is definitely what I do, is I make a list. You know, I say, like, okay, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. And this is ideal for me, is I want it to be set in stone. I want that to be concrete, but real life isn't like that. You know, real life isn't that, okay, you know, my family, and this is a hard one for me to learn, but my family doesn't always come first. An example that I would say, just to kind of like put everybody at ease, is like, if we have just had a week together away on holiday, my wife and my child and I, and we had a great time, we connected deeply, and we just come back and one of my friends I'm in ministry, so, or let's say someone in the congregation so we take it away from friendship, but just someone in the congregation has a desperate need in the middle of the night. Maybe it would be best for me to stay with my family because that's my first priority. But in that moment, it's actually more important that I get to that guy. Because he's in need, and it's important that I get to him. And I've spent time with my family. Like, how would you go about, you know, like, how do you think about readjusting sometimes those that it's not always set in stone?
Great question. I think it's something that all of us struggle with, because we like the idea of having our 8 things we need to get to and ticking them off. We like that feeling of completion and doing what we've set out to do. But life happens, and that's not always the case. So on a high level, if I talk about the 8 lenses or the 8 F's in the article, that won't change.
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice in a lifetime,
Mm.
but not necessarily, because my priorities would stay the same on a high level. But on a daily level, if you look at the goals that I have under the priority, that often needs to change.
Yeah.
Therefore, many people think goals are a destination. I've set this goal, I need to reach that goal. But I would rather say goals are a direction. It gives you direction into a certain area where you want to spend time.
Yeah.
And yes, hopefully you reach that destination often, but if you don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because life happens. So on a practical note, if I schedule my week or schedule my day, I leave margin. I leave margin in between where things can be flexible, where you can move things around. So if I've got a meeting between 3 and 4 this afternoon, then maybe half an hour open for something else. So that's one way of doing it. And yeah, it's a journey. Everyone's position's different. Everyone's working environment's different.
Yeah.
So we just shouldn't be too hard on ourselves if we don't get to what we've planned out to do. That's why it's important to have it written down, what you want to get to, and reevaluate, say, once a week. Look back at your week and say, okay, where have I spent my time? Where do I want to spend my time? And how can it change in the week to come? So now I want to see my friends, say, once a week, but maybe next week I realize, oh, do you know what? Where I'm at in life at the moment, that's not so feasible.
Yeah.
Maybe I should see them twice a week for shorter periods of time, or once every 2 weeks for longer periods of time, whatever the case may be. So just to recap, I think it's super important to make sure that it's flexible. Don't see goals as a destination, but rather direction to where you want to spend your time.
Yeah.
And then make sure you write it down.
Yeah.
But give yourself margin so that you can change and shape.
Yeah. And I like what you say, because I think something that you're hinting at is that priorities aren't only getting your life in order for now.
Yeah.
But it's actually like, where do I want to go to?
Yeah.
You know, it's that embracing that journey, and what are the things that help me make decisions today? Because if I have these priorities or these goals that I've set out, I've written down there, you know, like you have them on your whiteboard, it helps you make decisions today and tomorrow.
Exactly.
Like if someone quickly, you know, pops in and says, let's go through to Mossel Bay for the day, you know, obviously you'd want to, but there's certain priorities and goals that make that you decide yes or no, or how you would approach it. And I like that, is embracing the journey and saying, okay, this helps me move towards where I want to go.
Exactly.
It doesn't get me there immediately.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't solidify that this is where I am now, but it helps me make decisions to live a meaningful life.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think you touched on a valuable point there, George, because you talk about journey, you talk about getting somewhere. And that's something I'm journeying through now, actually, is what is that end goal? Is it a destination in terms of a position, like a CEO of a company, or is it more a destination of who I want to be as person? And that's what's really important to me, is who do I want to be at the end of my life? It sounds perhaps a bit stupid, because it's hopefully, God willing, 80 years from now.
Yeah.
But who do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah.
Essentially. That's more the journey for me. How do I want to be molded, and who do I want to become? What do I want to look like when I'm a finished product, which will never be?
Yeah.
So that's my motivation when putting up these 8 F's. When prioritizing my life. It's not about being that CEO, starting your own company. Maybe that will be part of your journey, but that's not the destination. The destination is, who am I as person? Who am I becoming as person? And what can I put in place now so that I can become more and more like that person every day?
Yes. I like that, because it so resonates with something, just like the picture that I have and the way that I see life is this, like this mountaintop, and the peak of the mountaintop is where you want to go, whatever that is for you. be it becoming CEO, be it being a dad, be it whatever your goal or your peak is that like focusing only there is not going to get you there.
Yeah.
Focusing on the step by step, climbing up is that's what gets you there.
Exactly.
Is what do I have to do now? And I think that's super, super valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you. You said it's not only that, because there is a massive part of what we're doing, what we're talking about, which has value in the position. You know, there's value in having a goal, which is a position, perhaps a CEO or starting this company. I'm sorry, I'm using business examples, but there is so much value in that. But it's not only that. It's good to have that goal on paper. But for me, you're actually fast tracking that process to that position if you're rather going to focus on your personal growth as person.
Yes.
For me, I love business, and business is all about people and relationships between people, having problems and finding solutions for that problem. That's something that I love. Is I know George is great at something, and this company needs that something that George is great in. Let's work together to find a solution. So please don't get us wrong that having a destination or a position as a goal is bad. That's great. We need to have that. But the priority and the main focus is who are you as person and how you're being shaped as person.
Yes. And I think like just kind of wrapping up, like I think the two of the things that I take away from this is that prioritizing, before we even prioritize, we kind of need to know where we want to go.
Yeah.
Who do we want to be one day?
Exactly.
You know, who do we want to be? What position do we want to fill? You know, what's the path that we want to set our life on? And that'll then help us to choose what is our priorities.
Yeah.
What are the things that we set in stone, those 8 lenses that kind of form the way that we make decisions. And then secondly is that once we've got that, you know, that goal, that thing that we want to achieve, and we've now decided on the priorities, to embrace the journey. Yeah. To be present to what's happening now and actually invest in ourselves in the now, so that we can get there one day. Exactly. Whenever that is. And I think it's great if you have something like a position to put a timeline. Yes. So that you don't just, you know, sit back and relax about it. But if it's something like super far in, you know, like you want to be a granddad or something one day, and you want to be the best granddad, but to put things in place now, prioritize certain things now that enable you to get there when you get there. Exactly. I love that. And yeah, those positions or those things we want to achieve somewhere down our life, and in our life, we mentioned CEO, so I'm going to go that example. That's just motivation. You know, as you mentioned, it's motivation, something to work towards. Yeah. We always need something to work towards as motivation. So I agree with you. George. It starts with a decision, deciding on what life path do you want to follow, who do you want to be. Because if you're not going to make a decision, you're going to follow the course of society or the people you surround yourself with. It starts with the decision. Once the decision is made, we can decide on what are those lenses that we're going to focus on in life, those priorities, and from there we can start planning on a daily and on a weekly basis, which is very, very important. But it starts with a decision. Oh, epic, man! It's been amazing to chat to you. Yeah, I'm gonna put in the description below. I'll put that book that you mentioned. I'll put the link to the article that you wrote. If people want to read that, you can do that. If you have got value from this video, please click like. And if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. Please comment also if you want to make a suggestion on what topics do you want to hear about. If you have some questions from the session, please ask them in the comments below. And stay tuned, because we're going to have a couple of more sessions like this, chatting to some amazing people in our community. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace.